Good morning. Today is the 2nd of May, 2020. And hi, I'm Reverend MeeLing, Reverend Susan MeeLing, Lady Dori, Belle, Lady MeeLing. I've gone by a few names. All realistically the same. I'm still me. That's why it's the same. So, real quick. I guess as quick as I can do it, I guess, technically, right? I tend to throttle on and whatnot. So, when I was in Washington State, specifically in the year of 2019, I had learned a lot. I learned a lot. And one of the things that I learned was that you don't have to change your cell phone number. I never knew that. Like, I never knew that. I actually had to be told that. And I know that sounds weird because there, are people who probably understand cell phones. Not probably, they do. A whole lot more than I do. Because it has to do with technology. So, my first cell phone that I got was in San Antonio, Texas. Now, when I first got that cell phone and then moved to Carrollton, however many years later, the male that is known as Cactus Jack, also known as Jeffrey Kirkendall Jr., had told me that I needed to get a new cell phone number. And I asked, well, why? The cell phone worked wherever I went. Why do I need a new cell phone? And Cactus Jack, also known as Jeffrey Kirkendall Jr., said, oh, because it's like a landline in the house. Whenever you get a new address, you get a new phone number. Oh, well, I guess that makes sense. Okay. Sure. That's what's supposed to happen. So I contacted AT&T, or T-Mobile, whoever I had. I was like, hey, I need to change the phone number. They asked why, and I said, because I moved. And that's why I have to get a new cell phone number. And whoever I spoke with said, well, what area, and stuff like that. Explained. Got the new number. Okay. Set up and taken care of. Cool. So then, after all the stuff that occurred between 2008 to 2010, which quite a bit, I moved from Carrollton, Texas to Cedar Park, Texas. Now, similarly to Cactus Jack, also known as Jeffrey Kirkendall Jr., who I had to drive back to San Antonio to get rid of him, I had to do the same thing with Philip Olmsted. I had to drive him back to Dallas to get rid of him. So, but in Cedar Park, I was told, you have to get a new cell phone number. Why? I don't remember. And Philip Olmsted, also known on FetLife as Darko or Donnie Darko, told me, well, because you moved. And when you move, you have to get a new cell phone number. Oh, why? Because I forgot. I had a head injury on Palm Sunday in 2000. It's part of the head injury stuff. Headaches, migraines, memory deficits, cognitive disorders. Went from college algebra with trigonometry and calculus to second grade math. Well, it was explained. It's like a landline. You move from one address to another. You have to get a new number. And I asked. Similarly to the first time. But the cell phone worked where I went. Why do I need to get a new cell phone number? And Philip Armstead, similarly to Jeffrey Kirkendall, also known as Cactus Jack, said, well, because, he moved. Got to do that. Okay. So I called the phone company. Got that taken care of. I moved. I got a new number. Okay. So then, more stuff happened in my life from 2010 to 2011. Wind up moving back towards the DFW area. And, the stuff that was going on, doing what I could to take care of it. Patrick Kennedy. As soon as moving in, you need to get or not as soon as, but fairly close in time. Patrick Kennedy says, you need to get a new cell phone number. Why do I need to get a new cell phone number? I forgot. It was explained to me. Because when you move, you have to get a new cell phone number. Similarly to when you get a new house line number because you move. Oh. Okay. I'll do that. Makes sense. Got that taken care of. And so, I got a new cell phone number. Again. And if I'm not mistaken, when moving from one apartment to the other, I got a new cell phone number because it was explained to me. When you move, you have to get a new cell phone number, just like you have to get a new landline number. Okay. Did that. Then, what happened from 2011 to 2012. Not a lot of stuff. I know there are some people who don't deal with that much stuff in 1 year, in comparison, in certain regards. Do not be jealous. I doubt there is anyone who is jealous of what I dealt with, literally from 1 year to the next. Just saying. So, in 2012, leave Patrick Kennedy because of a lot of things. For example, shotgun in the face. That'll do it. Not forgetting I was not informed of him having a shotgun. And the reason why he claimed, but is an excuse to me, that he put the shotgun in my face, which he never did answer why he had a shotgun in the house that was loaded, or apartment that was loaded, and didn't inform me, knowing my children were obviously with me. Well, my daughter back and forth, but my son with me. Be respectful with what my daughter was going through, as well as my son, because of what was going on with my daughter, his sister. Kind of important to let me know that. By a lot. I am a big proponent for the Second Amendment right. However, to have it smart, and 2 children in the house or apartment, especially with what was going on with my daughter, leaving a loaded shotgun underneath the bed, not really a safe location at all whatsoever. So, moved to San Antonio into an apartment. My biological parents come over. My biological mother says, Susan, you need to change your cell phone number. Why do I have to do that? She said, because, you moved. Oh, that's right. I forgot. It doesn't go with you, right? She's like, no, it doesn't. It doesn't go with you. But why does it work wherever I go? And Anna, my biological mother, Anna Louise Lally-Hom, because you moved. It's like a landline phone number. And so, what happened from 2012 to 2013, again, a lot of stuff. Afterwards, 2013, the Stoney LaRue concert and that whole thing, wind up dealing with that Kevin issue and those people. And then essentially move because of everything that was going on. And now I was, and my son and I had discussed moving to Florida because that was like happy memories and, could make the best of things as best as possible because, that whole thing with my daughter, his sister. Ironically, after I had applied for an apartment in Florida, which I had spoken with people who were like family to me, one of the females had been from Florida. Ironically, she's living in Florida now. And so, for anybody that didn't know that I was looking at moving to Florida, that was the original plan. Because my son and I talked about it. Similarly to when I moved back to the DFW region, my son and I spoke about it. However, after being denied, because whoever contacted me from the apartment complex said that I had multiple things on my credit report that I didn't know about, and went and researched it and tried disputing it, and then found out about the issues with my bank account and all that sort of stuff. And it was one of those, okay, this is confusing. I had LifeLock. I should have been alerted. I didn't receive any alerts. Okay. Now, some of the issues from the credit report agencies said it started in 2008. Specifically, the month my now dead ex-husband had died. The only people that would have had my information would have been, of course, my biological mother and my biological father through that, and my biological sister. I would lean more towards it being my biological mother and my biological sister over my biological father. As well as my ex-sister-in-law, Mary Evangelina Nichols Osteen, because of my military ID that went missing during the day of her husband's graduation at Lackland Air Force Base when I was pregnant with my son. Which in turn would mean her two daughters, Sandra Marie Osteen and Ariel Marie Osteen. And then also her sister, Mary Evangelina Nichols Osteen's sister, Susie Marie Nichols Lopez, the female who was named in the article other than myself and my daughter, female-wise, in regards to my dead ex-husband, her dead brother / her spiritual husband's article about the mixed medication overdose issue. And so, and Susie Marie Nichols Lopez had already stolen her children's credit to get electricity. So there's a very small group of people, but a group of people nonetheless that would immediately have access to that through various means. And so, and not forgetting, I'd also, now to expand that aspect, I did receive letters every year from 2003 on that there were issues where people had left the military base with different techie things, and my information was on there. And so I was doing what I could to make sure I could fix things. Shortly after, as far as finding out about all sorts of stuff on my credit report, I was introduced, met, targeted, however you want to put it, Cowboys Dance Hall. I'd done the online search on Google to see if there were any country music concerts in the nearby vicinity in the state of Texas. And in the entire surrounding area of San Antonio, all the way out, which this is an issue in its own right, you know, a 3-hour driving radius that I had looked or had tried to search. So from San Antonio, that is, you know, southbound, it's essentially to Corpus Christi. And then northbound, that's essentially to like Round Rock, Cedar Park. And then eastbound, I don't remember the small town, and same thing with westbound. And the only country music concert that I found online was at Cowboys Dance Hall, the Stoney LaRue concert in March of 2013. So while some might say, I sound a little paranoid, well, apparently, according to some of the signs I saw, Austin, Texas is the music capital of Texas. Well, it's the music capital of Texas. The only country music concert that I found in the state of Texas that I had looked into, which large vicinity, only one. The only one was at Cowboys Dance Hall. That was it. So, you know, if that's the case as far as Austin being the music capital of the state of Texas, and not one country music concert, which I did find weird. I was like, about the state of Texas, like there's a bunch of people who like country music in Texas. It's kind of weird. I can't be the only one. But okay. That's why I went to Cowboys Dance Hall. Otherwise, probably would have gone to a smaller location, knowing myself. So that way, you know, I could not be as scared of stuff, because I get nervous in locations I don't know, or at least there's not an exit area that I can find fairly easily. I get nervous. I'm not the only one. However, you know, I do go to certain levels to ensure safety. So I went to the Cowboys Dance Hall thing, that whole thing with Kevin and that group of people who surrounded me and wouldn't leave me alone the entire night after a light had been shown on me. Well, in the vicinity of where I was, but it kind of felt like it was on me. It felt like that. And so that's what it felt like. And that would be about the time, you know, that group, Kevin and the group that was with him, including my now ex-boyfriend, wouldn't leave me alone at all, whatsoever. So when leaving the state of Texas after all that sort of stuff in regards to my daughter, and getting to Arizona and looking at places to live in Arizona, my now ex-boyfriend, the male Jesse Leroy Hoover Jr., who had told me that, why would you want to move to Florida? Because, and I had told him that I was looking at moving to Florida at the Cowboys Dance Hall when we were talking against the wall, because I had told him I'm not looking for a long relationship tonight. I wasn't looking for anything tonight except for to enjoy the country music concert that I didn't get to enjoy because your friend and him and them not leaving me alone. Just wanted to, you know, have like a good time. I didn't think that that was too much to ask with everything that was going on, to kind of just relax and mellow out. And Jesse Leroy Hoover Jr. said, "That's great, that's fine." Well, then relationship aspect happened, and he, meaning Jesse Leroy Hoover Jr., told me, "You really should rethink about going to Florida instead, because like you said that the only reason why you and your son discussed Florida was because of the good memories." And I said, "Yeah, like I'd like to be able to like have good things in my life. You know, I've kind of, like, I enjoyed my time with my son and my daughter. However, because of Carrollton Farmers Branch Independent School District's McCoy Elementary School and the staff members and those involved who caused problems for my daughter, my son, and I, you know, the only, like, good things, as far as, like, good times, was in Florida. So, you know, I kinda, you know, since everything's been going on, I kinda wanna, like, be able to help my son while helping myself, instead of having any more problems." Didn't think that was very difficult to understand. Didn't think that it took a head injury for that. My now ex-boyfriend, Jesse Leroy Hoover Jr., brought up, you should, instead of looking at Florida, you shouldn't look there. Why? It would be better for my son and I. And then he explained, well, you know, it's the only place you've had good memories with you and your children. Uh-huh. I mean, there were good memories in the state of Texas until people who had no excuse to get involved with my life got involved with my life. And, in turn, my children's lives. No excuse to get involved with stuff. I didn't invite that. And he looked at me and said, well, maybe you should think about somewhere else. And I said, well, I have to stay below the Mason-Dixon line. He looked at me and goes, the what? The Mason-Dixon line. I need to stay below the Mason-Dixon line. And he looked at me. He goes, why the Mason-Dixon line? I don't know. I just have this feeling, because of my issues, that I should stay below the Mason-Dixon line. It would be safest for everybody if I stayed below the Mason-Dixon line. Shouldn't cross above it, unless it's going to be a very quick amount of time, and then, like, get back to below the Mason-Dixon line. It's just this energetic feeling that I have. I was proven to be accurate as a quick fast forward on that. So, my now ex-boyfriend, Jesse Leroy Hoover Jr., says, you know, since you and your son have only had good memories in like a very limited amount of places, you should not look at Florida, because Florida will make you sad because you'll remember your daughter. I'm going to remember my daughter no matter what. What type of stupidity would say something like that? And he looked at me and he said, well, well, maybe you won't be angry. I don't know about that. Like, at all. Because if I were to go the opposite way, because he had brought up going towards the west, there's no ocean nearby. And I know myself. And And so I need to be closer to water. I cannot be that far away from water. And it has to be a specific type of water. It cannot be non-salted or fresh water. It needs to be oceanic water. Hence why I looked at Florida on top of the aspects for my son and I. I don't need to be near fresh water. That won't be good. Nope, won't be a good thing. Why not? I can't explain that to you. You will not understand that at all. That's another reason, at least for me, because, obviously, the main aspect is my son. However, for me, because of certain things that I experienced, I do not need to be near fresh water. I need to be near salt water. Because, I've been through a few things and done a few things. And after everything that has gone on, I know myself. It's very simple. Well, why don't you explain it to me, Jesse Leroy Hoover Jr.? I said, there is nothing for me to explain to you that you could ever understand. You could know certain things, but you will never understand them in a proper sort of way. Unless you've gone scuba diving before. And he said, no, never went scuba diving. And he didn't even know how to swim. Well, it doesn't take energy to figure out. The easiest way is that I landed at the bottom of the ocean at the Vandenberg dive, and I do not need to be near fresh water. I need to be near salt water. It's safer that way for a lot. And then he had the nerve, the audacity to say, are you sure you know yourself? Yes. Yes, I do. I do know myself. Thanks. Sarcastically, if you can't tell. And so I was convinced to go to Arizona. The desert. Not the ocean. No ocean in Arizona. It's a desert. Yeah. So, get to Arizona. And Jesse Leroy Hoover Jr. says, oh, now that, you're looking at places to live for your son and you and all that, you should look at a new cell phone number. Why do I need a new cell phone number? And it was reminded to me why I needed a new cell phone number. Because according to anybody that I knew at the time of any move, you need a new cell phone number. Despite the cell phone working wherever I went, you need a new cell phone number. Because it's like when you move with the landline doesn't go with you. Now you gotta get a new one because of your address. Fine. Alright. Got a new cell phone number. Then, after going online at the resort that I was at with my son and my now ex-boyfriend, Jesse Leroy Hoover Jr., also, after having gone to a church and speaking with a pastor in Scottsdale, Arizona, or Phoenix, Arizona, either one. They're very close to one another. Jesse Leroy Over Jr. had been told, because I saw it online, that there were people in Texas that I had once known claiming that I had walked into their jobs, spoken with them as well as with their bosses, and had a meeting with their bosses. And these individuals were either in Houston, which I knew a few people from Houston who had traveled to certain events that I had gone to, in San Antonio, in Austin, and in Dallas, or Dallas-Fort Worth. And it was one of those, I thought it was funny, because I was like, how did I do that? I mean, I know how to do certain things. That is not something I can do. I cannot physically, in person, be in two places at once. So I show my now ex-boyfriend that, and that was on FetLife, and then also on Facebook that I had seen. It's like, how does that happen? Look, so I show my now ex-boyfriend the FetLife aspect, showed my son the Facebook one. And I was like, look, we're in Arizona. How is it that I'm, and one of them was literally 5 minutes prior to when reading. Like the post was 5 minutes prior. And it was one of those, how is that? I mean, I think it takes more than 5 minutes to get from any of those locations to Arizona. I mean, I'm just saying, like, I know I got wings that can shoot out randomly, but that's different. That's not me physically showing up, being in person, and awake, because I can astrally travel. I can. I've done it. I know I have. But, I have to be in a certain state of mind. I was not in that state of mind. That's a very specific state of mind that I have to be in for that to occur. And again, it is not in a physical way, like where so in such, I'll explain real quick when I have astrally traveled. So for example, there was this guy, and he kind of looks like Cutie Patootie Marine. Kind of does. Kind of looks like Cutie Patootie Marine. At least it was a dream, but it almost, I think I astral traveled for that one. And it wasn't just for him, it was to, like, people that would find him. And in the astral travel and not the dream, because there is a difference. So there was an explosion, and I was in a specific state of mind at the time that there was this explosion, and I went out there in the astral travel and put a dome essentially around him, and because there were individuals around that were the enemy, and while having a dome around him, which was essentially my wings, just covering in every different direction, I had told him he needed to be quiet because he needed to be safe. And so in the astral travel vision, he had reached upward, and because of the astral travel and the way that goes, had essentially attempted to wrap his arms around. And I was like, nope, can't do that right now. This is not a dream. This is reality. But you need to be quiet. And so my wings, however you want to believe certain things, kept the vicinity covered. And there were the enemy who had walked through my wings, and if there are those who were in that vicinity at that time and they felt out of nowhere absolute frigid cold, and you were in the vicinity of this particular guy, yeah, he walked through my wings. Keeping that one safe. Not that I haven't done it with others as best as I could, but that one I needed to make sure. And so I had picked up, because in astral traveling, it takes a lot for that to occur, but I picked up a piece of, it looked like wood, I don't know if it actually was, and I put it in his mouth, and I started covering up his physical body and pushing. It was like sand, but it was like dirt, but it was like clay, like this weird mixture of soil that I've never seen. Never seen soil like this, not in person. And it was kind of reddish, orange-ish, kind of tannish color. And I don't know if that was because of what my wings were doing in the vision of the astral travel, or that was the actual color of the soil. I don't know. So covered him up and took his helmet, which took a lot of energy to do, and picked it up and threw it, and in a different direction, so that way the enemy essentially would go to that instead of where he was at that point. And so, just focused on what I could. And if this is I specifically put one hand on his chest, and because I heard him cry out, "This can't be real," and I said, I put one hand on his chest and I said, "You can feel that, right?" And he looked at me, and with the thing in his mouth, I had tears coming out of his eyes, understandably so. And I said, "I'm gonna go get him, so you can see, you can feel that I'm real right now." And just, that's all they could do in the vision astral travel thing. And I said, "So you feel that?" I said, "I'm doing what I can to prevent an infection so that you understand that." Okay? He just kind of nodded. And so I did what I could and covered up him a little bit more, got some branches, stuff like that, and no matter what happens. So then in that astral travel, and vision sort of thing, I flew. I have wings, and that's part of astral traveling. And so flew to a dark brown colored door that had a brass colored handle and key lock. started banging on the door. And a guy, much taller than I, because for me to astral travel quickly, I have to kind of shrink down a bit before I can expand. And so when the guy, big raw guy with grizzled beard and like longer hair and stuff and black clothing that looked like uniform clothing, but black instead of the camo. Just tapped his chest. You need to go. You need to go. And the guy just kind of, where'd you come from? Pushed past him into the room. And what? You know, and there was a map on the table. And just right there. And the map, it was folded up tight, moved, and no wind. Right here. This spot, this dot, right here. This dot, right here, right here, right here. And the guy started yelling at me. I was like, yeah, that's nice. Right here, this guy right here, right here. And the guy came over and looked. And he looked at me like, I can't believe you're here. He's like, I don't care if you don't believe, right here, that's where he is. You gotta get him here. Right here. That one. Right there. And he just kind of looked at me, and right here, you're wasting time. Don't waste time. And the guy was like, but I have to get clearance. You don't have time for clearance. You have my clearance to go now. Go. And the guy just looked at whoever was in the room, who was looking at him, like, who are you talking to? Because they couldn't see me. They saw a little bit of glitter. It's just like the silhouette, but they couldn't see in the same way that that guy could, because I can only do so much. And so they went, and then I astral traveled back to where I needed to be. And I gone to that guy, and I was like, they'll be here shortly. We'll be good to go. Let's go. I went back to where I was. Now that takes a lot, and that's very, very different than what I was reading as far as online, being in person, because there's very little words that I can speak when astral traveling. It's not like I can have a full-fledged discussion like this. You know, like, it's just not, I can only do so much. And what was being described, number one, I know when I astral travel, and number two, the aspects of it just physically being impossible, not just physically, but astrally for me to do that. It takes a lot of effort, takes a lot of energy. It's not something that's you know, that simple. And so, the messages were shown, and my son, James, he started laughing. He's like, that's funny, Mom, how'd you do that? And I was like, I don't know. Apparently, according to these people, you've seen me. And he's like, yeah, Mom, I saw you out on the back patio. There's no way you could have done that. I'm like, I know. And, you know, Texas is a little bit of a distance from here. He's like, yeah, Mom, yeah, it is. And Jesse Leroy Hoover Jr., my now ex-boyfriend, says, Susan, come here, come into the bedroom, we need to talk. Okay. And so I was essentially explained that after, like, maybe a day or two after getting the cell phone numbers changed, I need to look at moving. Yeah, I'm looking at places in Arizona. I got my son into hockey, tested a place out. He got to do the ice hockey. I think I want to, or ice skating-ish. You know, I want to do what I can. And instead of that, I wound up in Washington State. Because meaning my now ex-boyfriend, Jesse Leroy Hoover Jr., brought up, well, Alaska. And I was like, yeah, I want to do that type of a dive, but not going to be able to essentially do that just yet. So, after being in Vancouver, because of making sure my son got the education squared away, new cell phone numbers, because Jesse Leroy Hoover Jr. said, gotta get a new cell phone number. Okay, why? It worked when driving through the different areas. Why do I have to need? It was reminded to me why I needed to get new cell phone numbers. Okay, fine. Then after the situation that occurred because of the people living in the apartment underneath mine where I was living with my son and my now ex-boyfriend, Jesse Leroy Hoover Jr., Jason and Pam, because Jason decided to try to tell me how to be a mom when he was living with his mom, with his two children that, you know, she was taking care of, and she was in regression from cancer. But Jason, who had his mom raising his children as she was in regression from cancer, tried to tell me how to be a mom. That didn't go so well for Jason, and then when he confronted me at one point in time in front of the people at the front office, after I had already told him no, I wasn't interested in certain things as far as he was concerned, he thought he would be safer to hide behind a golf cart. Not a car. A golf cart. Now, logically, it's first and foremost, there are no doors, so, you know, if I felt like it, could have slid right through that and been, like, right there. That's the equivalent of my ex-sister-in-law, Mary Evangelina Nichols Osteen, her two daughters, Sandra Marie and Ariel Marie Osteen, when they were being chased by the dog, instead of going outside, you know, or in Jason's case, hiding behind an actual car. And as he had hid behind a golf cart, the equivalent of Sandra Marie and Ariel Marie Osteen going and hiding in the bathroom to get away from the dog in the house. Equivalent to that. Because, I mean, I'm just saying, I'm a little strong. And not just the ability to just go through either the front or the back area of the golf cart, but being able to pick up the golf cart and throw it, and or move it or whatever. Just saying, is a golf cart that heavy in comparison to, I don't know, multiple scuba tanks with the wheelbarrow weight, or is it less weight than that? Probably less weight. Heavier or lighter than a gun safe to take up, you know, stairs by myself without a dolly. Probably lighter. Possibly. I don't know. I haven't looked up the average weight of a golf cart. Should do that. Anyway, so after all that sort of issues where Jason and Pam had purposefully run their vacuum cleaner in one spot, putting the hose against their ceiling, my floor, knowing that I deal with headaches and migraines. The apartment complex manager, who was friends with Pam, had, oh, well, you could move into a first floor apartment. I don't think so. I don't think so. I do not think so. I do not want to. I do admit, when in the Lodge at Madrona apartment complex in 2018 to 2019, I chose the first floor apartment for other reasons. However, no, I wasn't going to do that there. So when moving into the house in Lakewood afterwards, my now ex-boyfriend, Jesse Leroy Hoover Jr., said, you need to look at something of something. And I had told him something, and, it was a lot all at once, and got everything squared away as best as possible. For my son. And so, but after, there was no new cell phone number because I didn't think about it, because nobody told me to. Nobody told me I needed a new cell phone number. Nobody told me any of that. And when moving from Vancouver to Lakewood, I had asked, just to get the landline set up. And Jesse Leroy Hoover Jr. said he was going to do that. He did not. I didn't learn that until later, when essentially 2018, right after I got back from Iowa. Medal of Honor art project trip. After a whole bunch of other stuff. Because I wasn't dealing with enough, according to some people, I suppose. So, the moral of the story is you do not need to change your cell phone number when you move, apparently. Apparently, it was like I thought when moving from San Antonio to Carrollton, that the cell phone number goes with you. So, to all those individuals who had whichever cell phone number, my apologies. I thought I was being told the truth, because I cannot tell a lie. So why would I think anybody would lie to me? Don't be jealous, it only took me from 2008 all the way to 2019 to figure that out, when I had spoken with someone from scuba diving who told me that he had the same cell phone number since the 1980s. Kinda, by a lot, infuriated. My daily life is difficult enough as it is. I don't need any additional problems. With everything else that was going on, I definitely did not need any additional problems. I would like to be able to relax and be around people that I actually would like to be around, be happy, and, stuff. Like to get back to my Medal of Honor art project. However, because of a bunch of different things, that's just not gonna happen until I get clearance specifically specifically from, Congress and Senate and the White House. I know that might be a little bit much to ask, but after everything that has gone on, I am just not willing to put all sorts of people at risk in that regard. I also would like to be working on the aspects of finding the shinies at the bottom of the ocean, However, I can't do that on land. Get that underwater travel system going and a whole bunch of other things. So, also admit, I would like to, ironically, now that I'm actually ready to be in an actual relationship and actually date and look towards that long-term aspect, irony of ironies, that's when the coronavirus quarantine lockdown begins. That's when when I was like, okay, I'm ready. I actually want to be in a relationship. I actually want to look towards that. Not that I didn't want that prior. It was just it had to be with the right person. Imagine that. Not wanting to waste my time or anybody else's. So, However, no, I don't want to be with just anybody. Imagine that. I do and have always had standards. And now my standards have kind of gone a lot more up than what they once were. I'm extremely upset. I cannot be the only one that is upset. So, I'm gonna end this particular video broadcast. Do that upload thing or whatever. And you guys have a good one.